Welcome to another week of Token. I am Donna. This is Steven. Steven, what is Token?
Token is the place where oh man, you can get your electronics for cheap. Apparently, I don't know. That don't work. I don't know.
I like how these are now like having to do with like the films a little bit every
I
time.
know. I
It's
know.
okay. It's good. It's good. You're coming off with things off the top of the head that aren't bad. I appreciate it. So this week, if you didn't get the clue, this week for Token, we did 40-Year-Old Virgin. So in 40-Year-Old Virgin, what would be the summary of the movie, Steven?
Um, a not quite so young, a middle-aged, nerdy, grown man has a journey of self-discovery and learns that sex isn't always about just smashing through 20 or 40 hood rats. Sometimes there's more to it than that.
It's a direct quote right there. Direct quote. So the tokens of this film are, well, this film first of all is has so many great improvers. Like there's so many actors in this film. This is
There's
a Judd Apatow film. I was thinking about Judd's like past movies, and he always has diversity, but he has like it's like the same group, but it's not like I don't know how to describe like Judd Apatow's diversity because it's like there and it's there. It isn't, but it is all the
it's
time.
there. It's not prominent diversity, but it exists with the couple diverse friends from the crew because he uses a lot of the same people over and over in all his films. Right? It's his friends. In Hollywood they tell you if you're ever going to make it, you got to develop your crew. You got to build your crew that you work with. As you all each come up, you come up together, and that's what he did. And so his crew's picked up, a few. He's got the usual Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill and all those guys, but there's a couple. Paul Rudd.
These are
The
all
There's
these
a
are all
couple.
white. These are all white men still.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they're not. It's not the other. He's got Leslie Mann, which is his wife, by the way. And other than that, like,
I guess
might have.
it's pretty white. I mean, he'll have some like
Yeah,
diverse characters, but it's a pretty white crew when you think about it. I think though 40-Year-Old Virgin fills, in its main cast of like following, like the only real big diversity in that is Jay. Is the character's name is Jay. Who is
yeah.
the actor though is what's his name? It's
Romany Falco.
yes, who is
He's so great.
he's hilarious. He's perfection. And he has a pretty big role in this. Like I would say, obviously Steve Carell is like the top guy, but like he has a whole storyline. And one of the things I was doing when I was watching the movie, I was curious what scenes were improv and what scenes were in the like written script. And
Okay,
well, one, the script is, I noticed it's in a different order sometimes. Some of the scenes are in a little bit of a different
you
order.
looked over the script itself.
As I was watching the film, I was looking at the script
Okay,
to see like
okay.
what scenes weren't there. So some things are a little bit out of order, but the majority of like the really funny scenes with him and stuff, either it's not there or the dialogue has changed. Which when I was reading, I was like, that's very interesting. And he talked about how it was, well, I read how like the majority of the film, a lot of the really big, like great comedic moments were improvised. And then he also did the thing we continually talk about is like when you have, a cast that's good at improv, or when you have like a black character written by like someone white, I think there's like this, hey, whatever you want to do with the dialogue. And I know from like, from other experiences of like directing and stuff, like sometimes you're just like, hey, what feels natural for you, I want you to do to like bring yourself to it.
Yeah,
And that was definitely a huge element that like you felt in this film. Like every time he was on screen, you could tell it was like his own take of what was going on. There wasn't ever, you never felt like this was his touch on it. And then reading the script, a lot of it was him. Like one of the scene where it's him and Kevin Hart, all of that is like
yeah.
improvised. There is that scene there where the two of them get into it, but like his character Jay isn't described as black. And something we've talked about is in screenwriting, if your character is black or of any other ethnicity, the in screenwriting the default race is always white. But if your character is not white, you put in the race. So for Jay's character, which is, it's funny how like white supremacy even roots itself in screenwriting, but
Everywhere, yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
But like in the script, he wasn't written as black. So like when you're watching his character, he's like a full on like this
He's
black dude.
he's a dude from the hood,
All of
like
that came
straight
from
up.
him. All that came from him. Like none of that is like written like he is like a womanizer in the script still, but like the way that he carries out his like womanizer is he is more raunchy from the way that
I was gonna say because I mean he definitely talks like plenty of dudes but he's hella raunchy in this, right? Like he is he's straight street. Like, nah, you just need to knock out slay 20 or 30 hood rats and you'll be ready for the right one. And like and he's throwing around podna and don't act like a little bitch. Like he's all over the place, right?
It's great.
Um,
And I think what something that we talked about is like having your black characters not be stereotypes. And so like I like for him, it's like he is this like he uses obviously like what's the word, black vernacular or like slang and stuff like that, but he's not like an overuse of it. Like matter of fact, I will give you an example. And then so when I was looking at the script, there is this part in it that wasn't in the movie. But I think this part kind of sums up the difference between like, and it was actually, it was funny because Judd Apatow, obviously he wrote the script. So when he wrote this, it was acknowledging the fact that there are people that think that if you talk to black people or if you hear black people talk, they speak a certain way.
uh-huh.
So the script piece is this. So this was when they were doing, I think it was this scene comes from the speed dating. And so David is talking to a black woman, and this is what he says. He says, and it says in parentheses, like a wigger. It says,
Uh,
and I don't play that shit, dog. I'm all about the Benjamins. Treat my woman real good, giving her the sweet bling bling. I don't mess with no hoes either. No bitches for this player. I love ladies with a capital Lizzel. What about you? When the black woman replies, she speaks in a normal, educated fashion. Well, I see what you're saying, and I appreciate your candor, but I have one question. What the fuck are you talking about? And
and,
like,
and that's Paul Rudd's character.
yes. And
They,
that's the epitome of like normally in like when we watch films, sometimes it's like y'all really wrote y'all's black characters like
mm-hmm,
yo,
mm-hmm.
yo, yo, yo. But it was done, it was very natural because it was him.
It was, well, that scene you're talking about at the speed dating. One, it's not in the movie from what I remember, right?
Yeah, it's not.
That they either didn't shoot it or they left it on the cutting room floor and focused on his relationship, him bumping into his ex-girlfriend, who's played by Mindy Kaling, right? But that's funny because that actually shows that he consciously wrote this guy. He says like a wicker, right? So he consciously wrote this guy, David's character, acting as hip hop, as speaking as urban vernacular as possible, right? To a girl just because she's black, and then her like telling him to come correct because she doesn't know what the hell he's doing, right?
Yeah, it's basically the white writer recognized the like black struggle of like
Mm-hmm.
this assumption that and as a black woman who's been hit on by white men, um, some of them like will talk to you. So me and my friend have this debate all the time. We have this debate about like what type of white men we like when we date white men. And she likes white men white. I like them like with a little bit of like what they call spicy mayo, you
Oh
know,
my. Yeah,
just like
no,
a
go
little bit of like,
continue, continue.
like I said NMM and then my friend had this whole other thing about NMM. So it was like a bad idea to use NMM as an example. But basically like someone who naturally talks that way and it's not like they're putting on. But the
Yeah.
reason why she likes her white men white is because then they're just being white. They're not trying to like prove to you how down they are.
Mhm.
And I've had white guys who like try to like, oh, girl, and do all this shit. And it's like, I went to like private school. So I can't relate to this.
I went to private school.
I don't know. Why are you talking like that? Like, and even then, like my friend who went to all black school, she's like, I talk like this. I talk normal. Like we use slang and stuff, but it's not like the whole time. Like it's just so weird that white people think black people talk that way. So it was refreshing to see him exhibit his blackness fully and loudly, but also be it's just normal. It was just normal blackness.
Yeah, but also still be. You see how he was when he was trying to sell those products to people and stuff, right? He's like, "Oh, hi. So I'm actually about to take my lunch, but this here's Andy, and he's an excellent salesman, and he knows everything about these products. So I'm gonna let you talk to him." Like he just flipped right back into sales, code switching and stuff. But
Yeah,
around everybody else, he was extra black, like
so good.
crazy.
He was great. His comedic, what I loved about him, and I'll go back and like compare to examples, is that like when we watched Bridesmaids, this is the stuff that he was able to do in his storyline and like able to like have his fun. That's what they should have gave to my girl Maya. And
Yeah,
they did not. Every scene he was in, he was amazing. Their
he
whole chemistry
really
was
was.
awesome. Yeah.
Oh man, that Kevin Hart scene was so great.
And then that was like a it's funny because I don't even think it was like a cameo because Kevin wasn't really known then.
No, he wasn't super big then. Kevin was still trying to get recognized too. Then.
Yeah. That scene is super like that scene is funny because what happens in it when Kevin does his like both of y'all.
yeah.
So good.
Both of y'all. He's like, wait, me, him too. He's like, that seems funny because that shit it really does happen. Because your boy, you always have a boy that thinks he's hard and so wants to talk trash to somebody just to buck up, and then thinks you got his back, or is going to try to drag you down with whatever the bullshit he's getting into. And then this person identifies you both with his dumbass, and then you got to worry about looking after your back now because his dumbass got you into his bullshit. So let's see with Kevin Hart.
I think I
So
also
good.
appreciate, and this is just me, I know not everyone's like this, but I appreciate the use of the word nigga when it like flows like naturally in conversation. And he doesn't shy away from it from the white
No, he
or
doesn't.
anything.
He doesn't, which is funny because if I'm in an environment like that, I'm not going to use it. It to me, it's going to be so outstanding and noticeable that it almost gets cringy. Like, because I can see these white people being that uncomfortable, and I don't like uncomfortable humor sometimes, let alone like uncomfortable reality. So that I wouldn't do it in that type of environment because I'm like, these folks ain't gonna get it. They ain't gonna understand anyway. So, but he just lets it flow like he's around his boys, and none of those dudes are street at all. Fucking Seth Rogen's character, Paul Rudd's character, like none of those dudes are street, but he just lets it all go.
Which I think actually makes the relationship pretty authentic. It's like everyone's just rolling in who they are, and then they all seem to like mesh off the fact that they're like womanizers a little bit and like like kind of fuck boys. Like he's the ultimate fuck boy.
Absolutely. When his girlfriend finds his speed dating card, and he tries to blame it on Andy's character.
He tries to put on a blaccent.
He absolutely he tries to. Romany's character, he's like, will you please explain to her that this is Jay? Will you please explain to her I found your speed dating card and she thinks it's mine. He's like, oh yeah. Like, well, keep your bitch in check. I mean, like, I'm not gonna tell you how to run your hoe, but she's like, these are the people you spend time around. It's just so good. Like,
so the first black couple that we ever encounter, or first black people, because there's other diversity. Like there's the guys that are I would say Indian, then you have like Mindy's character. And another thing that I noticed was like kind of like what happened in Clueless is like everyone felt like they had their own like agency. Like they weren't the people who were diverse weren't the butt of everyone else's jokes because they were diverse. They might joke about it.
Yeah.
But it was also in like a way that like wasn't demeaning to them. Like he was like, first of all, I'm from Brooklyn. This is a Brooklyn accent. Like when he was calling him out when he was arguing, he's like, he's like, no, I'm from Brooklyn. Don't even but it was just it was nice. Like everyone like stood their ground. So the first black people we encounter is the older couple in the stoop.
Yeah.
John and
the
Sarah.
First people we encounter all together, other than Andy, the first two people we see.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there eating having their little breakfast on the patio.
Talking about Andy needs to get laid. That's the first. They drop the script writing is great. It drops it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
What does he need? He needs to get laid.
Yep.
And then we meet Jay at work. So Jay also has his own whole backstory. That was nice, right? He has his whole own story. He's a fuck boy. He has a girlfriend named Jill, and he just like cheats. And here's okay, I'm gonna take a breather pause after this, but here's the difference between this and when I was watching what's that? The Tulsa when I was watching Watchmen
Watchmen.
that made me upset about homeboy cheating
Mhm.
on his wife, and it felt like there was no consequence for what I saw. What I liked about this was like they called it like it is. Jay is a fuck boy. Jay has consequences for his actions. Like there's no like justifying Jay's actions or who he is. It's like, no, Jay's a fuck boy. He's pretty awful. He pays the consequences when he's crying. Later, he's like crying in the like storage room and stuff after the fight because like he got caught. He got caught cheating because he forgot to take the condom off from the last girl. Hilarious. But it's like you like see him pay for his actions. You realize who he is. It's not justified. It's not like mulled over. It's like no, this dude is like a shitty dude. And like also it's discovered that he's like cheating. Like I don't think in Watchmen ever actually really came out that he was cheating. It was just he had this kind of secret life
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
was treating his family bad, you know? And in this it's like it's all on Front Street. Like, you know who he is, you know what he's doing, da 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 da. He's getting called out for it, you know he's like trash, you know? And he's yeah, that was great. So yeah, so he has his whole own backstory. Um, what were your like what were the moments from him that really like stood out to you story wise and things like that?
Um, I think he basically takes a lead on discovering what Andy's like what Andy's need is, and he essentially is the lead the entire movie in terms of trying to help Andy get over this hump, right? Get humped.
Get humped
He
over the hump. Huh? I see what you're doing.
and and so it's clever because again, they give, like you said, they give him agency to fully be this character, this fuck boy from the hood that's just playing and trying to encourage Andy to be a player too, but not neglecting to realize that's just not who Andy is, right? They're all trying to put Andy into their own mold, but Jay's character specifically is like, he's the player mold. So he I noticed because they really let him ride with that, and from everything when they're at the party, he's like, no, or when they're playing cards, he's like, Andy, help this man redeem himself by telling us the filthiest story you got, the filthiest, dirtiest story you got. And he's like, oh boy, I mean, just filthy girl. Like he leads every one of these events. He's like we're going to the club. Let's go to the club. I'm gonna have a party at my house. You're coming to my party. He's like, or even when he's like, we got meet us over here for lunch, and then he meets him and he's like, oh, it's a date thing. He's like you're about to cram 20 years worth of pimpage into one day. He's like, get ready for this. And like it's just constant. He is certainly the leader in regards to that, but you also see how his character's arc grows and changes by the end of the movie too, right? Like you said, there's consequences for his actions. I think it's great because going along with allowing him to fully be this character and show you this character's like base desires along with his true personality. Like they do small stuff too, because when you notice when they find out that he's a virgin and he tries to convince himself that the next day at work it'll be fine, they're not even going to remember, they're not going to pay attention to it. Everybody's calling him out like, hey Andy, hey, you need to get laid. And Romany's character is on the couches standing up in the background, and they're playing Rex and Effects on TV, on all the TVs, and it's all I want to do is zoom, 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 and you boom, boom. And he's like, hey Andy, we gonna get you laid. I'm like, holy shit. Like they let him lean in on it all the way. And he doesn't do it I mean, it's not like just a caricature of it. They let him do it in a full out way where you're like, yeah, I definitely know dudes like this. But like you said, you get to see how even those dudes have to be real sooner or later with themselves more than anything else, right?
Yeah. I love it. I have like very black moments. Him
Yeah.
watching the zombie movie.
Yeah. And not even paying attention to Andy when he's trying to talk to him.
But he's
Yeah.
watching that, he's like, "Oh, get out the house." Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is a very black. This is like black theater, people yelling out. This is a very black moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. What okay.
And
Very black scene. Obviously Kevin Hart and Jay. That was a very black
yeah.
scene.
Yeah. 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 With him and Erica Vitina, who plays Jill, his girlfriend, when she walks in, and he's got to convince her that it's Andy's speed dating card. That one too. He's like, no, you remember this is your speed dating card. I'm trying to help him. Like he's trying to be the whole good boyfriend, knowing damn well he is not. Right.
It was it was just done. It was done really well. Like yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I also noticed like at the beginning when they're having when he's asking Andy to describe the filthiest thing he's done and what the woman looked like. No. What did it about to look like? What did it look like? He's like, did she have with a big nipples, small nipples, were they little bumpy brown ones, the Stevie Wonders?
He says it's Stevie Wonders.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think the Stevie Wonders part was in the script, but that part where describing the nipples is on it.
Yeah. Oh, really? He just I was like the Stevie Wonders. I was like, damn, that's cold. But he's getting like, nobody not black is gonna use that as like a reference point, right?
Right. And that was the thing, like reading the script, like there was a lot of things that were like improvised, but like that's the little thing about, and we've talked about this, like acknowledging like your characters are black, and there's just little things that are like black references, thoughts, and just things that we like, the zoom zoom the boom boom, like that's a very specific song. Another thing was, what did I write? I don't think I had, but he just had like a lot of moments of just like dropping in like these little bits of like black references, black, not like when you're watching a film that's a black film, right? Like a film that has black people in mind, black people as viewers, we allow ourselves to show these little intricacies. I don't know if that's the word, of like blackness, right? Like if whether it's the N word, whether it's references to like black musicians, characters, films, things like that that we only know about. I remember I was writing this script for this company that's like all for white men. But it was in the script I was going to write a line that was like, y'all always talk about, do we know Star Wars? Do y'all know House Party? Have y'all seen House Party? Because like y'all, but have you seen like these films that are like black like cult classics? Like no, but that was a reference I was going to make for black viewers that like are a bit of what we know. And what I appreciate about those, there's so many just little references of like blackness, and it didn't feel like uncomfortable. It just felt like I know this type of guy. He's really funny. His comedic timing is so on point. He's not a stereotype. He's just a human being.
Exactly. And he is very much a larger than life character. But like you said, he's a human being. Dudes like that. When he's like, oh yeah, you just need to slay 20 or 30 hood rats and you'll find the perfect one. Like I've literally had friends tell me that after going through a breakup, right? Like that black friends, like black friend. That's and this was college, but that's literally things that the dude from the hood say, right? And when you're going through a bad breakup and they're trying to get your spirits up and shit, like trying to give advice. You get good advice and bad advice from people when you're going through a breakup, and then look at your face. But that's what I'm saying. That's a real thing. That's a real line.
I know.
That's why I'm laughing. So I'm like this shit is real. Like this is what people tell you. And
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. And so him putting that type of stuff into his character makes it even just all the more authentical.
Authentical. Is that a word?
Well, I said authentico, but authentical is not. But I like that. I might start using authentical.
Authentical.
That's what you said, right?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But
anyway,
what were you gonna say?
So I was gonna say another scene that I was like, I think it aged well, but I think it's trash. But I think that's like what it's supposed to be. Is like when they're in the club and Jay is giving him advice on hitting on drunk girls.
Oh. Yeah, find the drunkest one.
Right. I think the reason why ages well is because it's framed in, this is like shitty behavior.
Yeah.
You
His
know this is
character.
bad behavior. You know this is like bad advice, but you also know guys that are just like this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
To this day, you know, guys are like that, and where they feed,
Mhm.
where their hunting grounds are.
Yeah.
And what do you tell them? You gotta go out for the drunk girl, find the drunkest girls possible. Where can you find drunkest girls? And then I love how that next scene after that question cuts to a group of bachelorettes, and they're all wearing colored wigs, and they're all drunk as hell, right?
But I was like, oh, I wonder if this is aging. I was like, no, I think this actually ages well because they frame it as like it's not a good thing. If
Yeah,
they framed it as like this is what you do and everyone should do it, then it'd be like, ooh, this is not aging.
well, you're especially if that scene ended well for him, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is a tutorial on how to get laid, but he tells him to do this. He goes and does this, and it ends very badly
Mhm.
because it's bad advice, right?
Yeah.
And it's coming from a dude that's basically
Terrible.
a terrible person. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so
That's so good. I think that's even like a commentary on comedy, right? Because they always talk about comedy like doesn't age well. I think comedy ages well when it takes the right take on something.
I think good comedy ages well, right? Not all comedy does, but that's a lot of, that's because a lot of it is done by people who are like culturally going to be wrong in the future. But comedy I think comedy that takes a higher perspective when it comes to like politics and culture and race relations and stuff like that, that comedy I think always usually ages well because you're it's that whole thing that art is supposed to speak to power, right? Now, it's the same thing with comedy. Comedy, if you're making fun of the people that are already marginalized, it's not going to age well. But if you're making fun of the people that have power or that exercise their power improperly, then it should age well because because those are the people that need to be taken down anyway.
Come on, take him down anyway. Another cameo, my homeboy from Reno 911, who I love. I can't remember his real name, but when they're in the scene,
Cedric Yarbrough.
yes, when they're in
Cedric.
the scene and he's with his two kids and he's talking about, can we make my daughter's period go away like forever? It's like,
He is crazy. He's great too. He is so great, especially in Reno 911.
I love Reno. That was a great cameo. I don't even know if that was considered a cameo then, but now like it's a cameo because we all know who he is.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, shout out to the red light special playing in the background as the sexy music at the end.
Oh yeah, with TLC.
Yes, red light special. I love that reference. And then
Yeah.
yeah, if this movie 1 out of 10, what would you do? We do 1 out of 10 or we'll do 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10.
We'll do a 1 out of 10 because I think that's
What
what
would you
we
give this movie?
usually do, right? 1 out of 10, I give it a in terms of entertainment value, I give it a 10. In terms of like token diversity, I give it a 8.5. And the
Yeah,
only reason I wouldn't give it more is because I think one or two more diverse characters in the primary cast would have been great, would have been better.
that'd been dope. Yeah, I would give it a 10 out of 10 too. I think the movie's so good. I love the fact that the director let him be in all his scenes and like really express and stuff. And it made him a star. This was like his breakout role.
Yeah, it was. It was.
And that's why my girl Maya, that should have been her breakout role, but they didn't give her no leeway. But
What?
whatever. I
What?
mean, this movie's
Wait.
looser in style too.
What? Wait. Your girl Maya.
Maya and Bridesmaids.
Oh. Right. Well, yeah. I don't know if was this a breakout role? I
No,
don't know.
this was his breakout role, which I read online.
Yeah.
But Maya, it didn't, Bridesmaids didn't break Maya out.
No, it didn't break Maya out like this did for Romany. But I think Maya was already Saturday Night Live helped her break out prior to that, right?
True, but my girl deserved better.
But I will say he definitely had like the primary cast wasn't very diverse, but the secondary cast and guest stars for sure, right? Because they I totally forgot Minnie was even in this as the ex-girlfriend, but Minnie Kaling pops up. They have that guy, the old dude Jerry Bednar, that's always telling them to go fuck a goat, right?
Yeah.
Like, man, why you always telling me to fuck a goat? Like he's apparently from Trinidad and Tobago, but he's like
Oh,
he's Trinidad and Tobagonian, like Bengali descent.
oh, come
So
through.
yeah, and I guess he does stand up and stuff. So he's
Everyone's comedians, I assume.
yeah, I would think so too. But he's been in a lot of stuff too, playing the same type of old wild ass dude, you know.
He's
And even Jane Lynch is in this, right? And she's a lesbian. And I guess Mindy. There's the other Indian dude too that's in there. Ken Jeong isn't in this, but he's in a lot of Judd Apatow's films. So like they have a lot of walk-on roles for their diverse cast, just not like the primary cast.
Yeah. And they all shined. I would say every like character has like a shining moment. Like even Jonah has this like very bit part where he's talking about the shoes, but it's like a shining I would say no scene was discarded as like a moment of where peak comedy couldn't happen. Like it really feels like Judd Apatow was like, hey, y'all, these are the scenes, but if you have anything, feel free to throw it out, improvise. Like it seems like he really lets his actors like go.
Yeah, I think he does. And I think that comes from because Judd is a comedy guy and working with comedians for so long. And I think he understands that the best comedy frequently comes from letting your actors do what they do and just editing as needed.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it also speaks to because I've seen movies where like the comedic lineup, I was like, this is going to be hilarious. And it's not as funny as it should be. And I think a lot of times it's because they don't let the actors or the comedians have the room to improvise, to be, and that's such a disbenefit to the film. Because what you see is in this, he let Jay's character, the guy who played Jay's character, just freely try stuff and do stuff, and it brought so much life to the script. He let all of them do their thing, and it brought like another level of like comedic value to it, which isn't in some of these films where you have so many personalities like that.
Yeah exactly.
Yeah, I thought this was great. This is, if you haven't seen 40-Year-Old Virgin, oh my god, go run and see it. It's just really well done, great concept. Homeboy is a freaking star in it. Everybody in it is great, but like he's a star. He's a star.
Yeah. Romany definitely takes the lead. Honestly, like he takes the cake for this.
So, do you have any closing thoughts or anything like that?
No, just watch the movie, enjoy it, and let us know your thoughts if you have seen it.
Yes, as
always, all of our socials.
Yes, give our socials. I'm gonna let you do it because I always mess up.
Hit us up on Instagram at Token Blaccent Cinema. Find us on YouTube at Token Blaccent Cinema. iTunes, Google Podcasts, the whole nine. It's Google Podcasts and Spotify.
Yeah.
The whole nine. Token Blaccent Cinema everywhere you can find us.
Everywhere.
And let us know what you're thinking, because this movie's great. Let us know your favorite parts and what you think about Romany's character.
It's a piece of chef's kiss. Leave us any comments, anything, any films you want to suggest. We would love to hear it. Until next time, peace out.
Peace.